You have zero job experience and you've heard that networking is a great way to get a job. So you go to a networking event, put on a name badge and say, what? I don't have a job, please give me one? No. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to network like a natural, even if you've never had a job in your life. With these low effort, high reward tips, you'll get an unfair advantage in this job market because you'll connect to people in a way that your peers just can't. With these tips, you'll feel confident introducing yourself to people even if you don't have a job title. You'll also know how to keep the conversation going. And we'll finish with my pro tip for closing a conversation that leaves the other person wanting to hear from you. So let's get you networking like a natural with tip number 1. Picture this, you're at a networking event, you've got a glass in your hand, and you're starting to mingle. Someone comes up to start a conversation with you, and they ask that classic networking opening line, "What do you do?" Now, let me tell you a story of when I made the mistake and flubbed this myself. I was at a time in my career where I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I was in between jobs. And while I was networking, someone asked me this very question. And instead of following the advice I'm about to give you, I think I said something like, well, I used to do X and now I might be interested in Y, but I'm still figuring it out. Well, this was an honest answer. It didn't give the other person very much to work with. And the only response I got back was kind of this, well, that sounds tough, empathetic answer. And the conversation just fell flat. That's not going to happen to you because I've learned from my mistake and you don't have to make it. You're going to say, I'm in industry and open to new opportunities at the moment. But I came to this event specifically to learn about ... Now for that ... I recommend you talk about something industry related. For example, you can say that you came to learn how AI is affecting the marketing industry, and you can tie it back to the theme of the event as well. If you're not sure what to ask about when it comes to industry-specific trends, then download my 50 conversation starters email. It comes straight to your inbox, so it's easy to find before your next networking event. And it even has a section with industry-related questions. You can repurpose that for this sentence really easily, and I hope you do. The beauty of this sentence is that it lets the other person know you are indeed open to opportunities, but then with that second part of the sentence, it takes any pressure they might feel off. In other words, they don't feel any pressure to help you get that job in that conversation. They know that instead you're both going to be talking about the industry or something that you both have a genuine curiosity in. Okay, so maybe you know what to say when someone asks you what to do, but a lot of young professionals shy away from networking because they don't feel like they have anything of value to offer in a networking conversation. That's why it's important here that you actually shift your mindset. You're thinking of yourself in this situation as the one who should be talking, but in fact, you can serve an incredibly valuable role as the listener. And not just any passive listener, but an active listener who asks thought-sharpening questions. Thought-sharpening questions are what people pay consultants way too much money to ask. These are questions that get the other person to reflect on what they just said to you in a way that helps them think up new insights or answers to their problems. If you can ask some of these questions to even a more senior professional and really get them reflecting on their own business challenges, you become someone that they think, wow, when I'm around this person, I learned something. Even though, magic trick, you actually didn't say anything about the industry or their specific job. All you did was ask the right questions. Here are my favorite thought-sharpening questions to have in your back pocket to keep that conversation going, even if you have no job experience. The first is, what's a challenge for you these days? This, by the way, is a great opening question. If you've just had your intro, they've told you what they do, and the conversation goes flat, boom. What's a challenge for you these days? Gets them talking. The second question, what's your highest priority right now? This is awesome if that person answered the first question with multiple challenges. Again, it keeps the conversation going, even if you have no experience in the field that they're in. Another great thought-sharpening question is, how did you come to that decision? This question is a great follow-up to what's your biggest priority, because when you ask them that question, they're going to make a decision and tell you, well, I guess X is my biggest priority. Then you keep that conversation going by asking them how they came to that decision. The fourth question, a little bit esoteric, but what would it look like if this challenge was easier? This gets the other person to reflect on whether there's another way to do something that's been challenging for them all along. And the fifth one, a bit broader, is what's another option? This is great for conversations where someone's starting to list off what could happen in their field, what decisions they could make, what actions they could take. Just getting them to say more, what's another option, might get them thinking and come to a solution that they'll have you to thank because of this thought-sharpening question you posed to them. There's another way to keep this conversation going without feeling like it's an inquisition. That way is to share your expertise. You might be thinking, I clicked on this video because it said no job experience and I have no job experience. Therefore, what is my expertise? If you're a young professional and you're Gen Z, you have expertise that a lot of mid-senior professionals are hungry for. We want to know how to work with your generation. We want to know how to get their attention. We want to know how to sell to them. We want to know how to lead them, how to motivate them, how to encourage them, how to give feedback. We need all of this information and we need it desperately. When I was in my 20s, I was actually paid to give a presentation to boomers who wanted to know how to engage millennials. That's how valuable this information is to an older generation that starts to interface with the generation behind them as they gain seniority and the younger generation enters the workforce. So how do you do this? Well, you got to listen a little bit to what field the person is in. For example, if they're in marketing and they work on campaigns, then you might mention an ad that caught your eye or caught the eyes of your friends. If you're talking to someone who manages a team, you can share a group experience. Maybe you were being coached by someone or led by someone in a volunteer capacity, and you were really motivated by that person. Share what it was that motivated you or got you to work hard in a situation. We are dying for advice here, and you're in a great position to give it. Say your wine glass is empty, or you see the other person starting to scan the room, and you want to gracefully exit the conversation. This is my all-time favorite way to do it. You're going to say, I've really enjoyed our conversation. Before I get going, can you recommend any book, podcasts, or newsletters to someone getting started in this industry? Almost anyone is going to be able to come up with something to recommend to you, but that's not the end of this trick. The magic is this next step. You're going to take out your phone and write down their recommendation so they can see you writing it down. This makes the person you're talking to feel like you both listened to them and you value their opinion. And that's really going to give them like the best possible vibes they can get with you before ending this conversation. After you write it down, wish the person a good evening and boom, conversation closed. But your job isn't done yet, because my fifth and final tip to networking like a natural, even if you have zero job experience, is to follow up. Always follow up. Even if you don't think this connection has anything to offer you, follow up. And the most powerful follow-up you can write is one that you actually seeded with the tip before. Here's what you're going to do. Reach out to this connection on LinkedIn or over email and write a note that's kind of like the following. Hi, Joanne. It was great to meet you at event. Based on your recommendation, I just listened to an episode of whatever the podcast was. Of course, you're going to adjust this if you read a newsletter or a book instead. I really like the advice or insight to whatever. The point here is you want to say just a little bit beyond, I'll look up the book later. You want to show that you did a little bit of research and there's something about that recommendation that actually does connect with you and you find valuable, and that's why you're genuinely thankful for it. Continuing on, you're going to write, thanks again for the suggestion. Let me know if I can be helpful to you or your team in the months ahead. I look forward to our paths crossing again soon. Best, your name. This is so much richer than either zero follow-up or the standard nice to meet you follow-up note. It leaves an impression of professionalism and hireability that so many folks just starting out don't yet have a grip on. I want to help you get an unfair advantage in your career by leveraging the power of networking, but in a non-slimy way. If you like this video, please like, leave a comment, or subscribe. I'm here for you, and I hope to see you again on this channel soon.